In the shadowed valleys of ancient Laconia, where the Taygetus Mountains rise like silent guardians against the Mediterranean sky, a society was forged in the fires of discipline and unyielding resolve. Have you ever wondered what it takes to turn ordinary men into legends that echo through millennia? Welcome to the epic tale of the Spartan warriors, those iconic figures whose name alone conjures images of unbreakable shields, heroic stands, and an ethos that continues to inspire modern heroes around the world. Imagine a world where every citizen was trained from childhood to embody the pinnacle of human endurance, where weakness had no place, and where the strength of the community outweighed any individual desire. The Spartans, inhabitants of the city-state known as Sparta, were not just soldiers. They were the epitome of martial excellence in classical Greece, a people whose way of life transformed mortals into myths. As we embark on this immersive journey through their society, their battles, and their enduring influence, allow yourself to settle in and let the weight of centuries wash over you in serene waves. Picture the dusty training grounds where young boys mastered the art of war. Envision the thunderous clash of hoplite phalanxes on blood-soaked fields. Reflect on the quiet ways their spirit lives on in today's military doctrines and cinematic epics. This is more than a recounting of history. It is an invitation to contemplate the timeless power of discipline, courage, and sacrifice. But what forged this unbreakable society? Let us begin by delving into the heart of Spartan life, a unique system that placed the state above all else. From the moment of birth, Spartans were scrutinized for their potential to serve the polis. Infants deemed unfit were exposed on the mountainsides, a stark practice that ensured only the strongest survived to strengthen the community's defenses. Those who passed this initial trial entered a life of rigorous education known as the agoge, a state-sponsored program that molded boys into warriors through physical trials, survival skills, and communal living. Girls, too, were trained in athletics and dance, fostering a society where both genders contributed to the ideal of physical perfection. At the core of this was the Helot system, where subjugated peoples toiled the land, freeing Spartan citizens to focus solely on military prowess. This austere lifestyle, often romanticized yet rooted in necessity, allowed Sparta to emerge as a dominant force in the Peloponnese. Their alliances, such as the Peloponnesian League, extended their influence. But it was their unyielding ethos embodied in the famous phrase, "Come back with your shield or on it," that truly set them apart. This meant victory or death, with no room for retreat or cowardice. As we explore further, we will uncover how this mindset culminated in one of history's most iconic battles, Thermopylae, where King Leonidas and his 300 elite warriors held the pass against overwhelming Persian forces, buying precious time for Greece at the cost of their lives. Yeah, the Spartan legacy extends far beyond ancient battlefields. Today, their principles inspire elite military units worldwide, from the rigorous training of United States Navy SEALs to strategic doctrines emphasizing resilience and teamwork. In popular culture, films like 300 have immortalized their stand, blending historical drama with motivational fervor, reminding us that true heroism lies in facing impossible odds with unwavering resolve. If this glimpse into Spartan valor has captivated you already, like and subscribe for more epic journeys through history. Now, let us immerse ourselves deeper into the intricate fabric of their society, a world meticulously engineered to produce the finest soldiers antiquity ever knew. Nestled in the fertile valley of the Eurotas River in the southern Peloponnese, Sparta was not a sprawling metropolis adorned with grand temples or opulent palaces like Athens or Corinth. Instead, it was a collection of modest villages, austere and functional, where every aspect of life revolved around the relentless pursuit of military excellence. This was a society built on the pillars of equality among citizens, communal living, and an unshakable devotion to the state, often at the expense of personal freedoms or luxuries. The Spartans, or Lacedaemonians as they called themselves, traced their origins to the Dorian invasions around 1200 before the Common Era, when migrating tribes settled in Laconia and subjugated the local populations. Over centuries, they evolved a unique social structure divided into three main classes: the Spartiates, the full citizens who formed the elite warrior class; the Perioikoi, free inhabitants of surrounding towns who handled crafts and trade; and the Helots, state-owned serfs who toiled the land and provided the economic backbone for Spartan militarism. The Helots, descendants of conquered Messenians, outnumbered the Spartiates by as much as 7-1, creating a perpetual undercurrent of tension that necessitated constant vigilance and military readiness. This system of servitude allowed Spartan men to dedicate their lives entirely to training and warfare, free from the burdens of agriculture or commerce. At the heart of Spartan society lay the agoge, a rigorous education system that began at the tender age of 7 and shaped boys into warriors of unparalleled discipline. Imagine a young Spartan lad, torn from the warmth of his family home, thrust into a communal barracks where survival itself was a lesson. The agoge was not merely schooling. It was a forge for the human spirit, emphasizing physical endurance, stealth, and obedience above all. Boys endured harsh conditions, scant clothing even in winter's bite, meager rations to teach hunger as an ally, and grueling exercises that built bodies of iron. They learned to hunt, forage, and fight in mock battles, often encouraged to steal food as a test of cunning, but woe to the one caught, for punishment was swift and severe, not for the theft, but for the failure to evade detection. Music and dance were woven into this regimen, not for mere entertainment, but to instill rhythm in phalanx formations and grace in combat. Elders oversaw their progress, instilling laconic speech brief, pointed words that became a hallmark of Spartan wit, and a code of honor that prized the collective over the self. By the age of 20, graduates emerged as full warriors, ready to join the syssitia, communal mess halls where they dined together, fostering unbreakable bonds of camaraderie. Spartan women, too, played a pivotal role in this martial ethos, enjoying freedoms unheard of in other Greek city-states. They were educated in gymnastics, wrestling, and music, their bodies honed for strength to bear healthy children who would one day swell the ranks of warriors. A Spartan mother's farewell to her son, marching to battle, "Come back with your shield or on it," encapsulated the societal expectation: victory or honorable death, with no tolerance for cowardice. Women managed households and estates while men were away, wielding influence that extended to politics and inheritance. This emphasis on physical and mental fortitude extended to governance, where two kings ruled in tandem, checked by a council of elders known as the Jerusha, and an assembly of citizens. Laws attributed to the legendary lawgiver Lycurgus promoted equality among Spartiates, forbidding displays of wealth to prevent envy and division. Gold and silver were banned. Iron bars served as currency, cumbersome and worthless elsewhere, ensuring focus remained on virtue rather than material gain. Yet, this utopia of discipline masked underlying fragilities: the constant fear of Helot revolts, the declining birth rates among citizens, and the isolationist policies that limited alliances. As we reflect on this society, it is easy to see how such a foundation bred legends, turning ordinary men into symbols of resilience that continue to resonate in our modern world. But how did this resilient society rise to dominate the Greek landscape? From the unyielding foundations of their society, where discipline was etched into every soul and the state reigned supreme, the Spartans began their ascent to power, a rise marked by calculated conquests, strategic alliances, and a military machine that struck fear into the hearts of their rivals. Picture the rugged landscapes of the Peloponnese in the 8th century, before the Common Era, as Sparta, then a fledgling collection of Dorian settlements, set its sights on expansion to secure resources and buffer against threats. This era of growth was not born of mere ambition but necessity. The subjugation of the Helots demanded constant military dominance, and the fertile lands of neighboring Messenia beckoned as a prize worth the blood spilled. The First Messenian War became the crucible of Spartan expansion. Led by their kings, Spartan hoplites, those heavily armored infantrymen wielding spears and shields, marched into Messenian territory, clashing in brutal phalanx formations that emphasized unity over individual heroism. The war dragged on for nearly 2 decades, a testament to Messenian resilience, but Sparta's superior organization and relentless training prevailed. By the war's end, Messenia was conquered, its people reduced to helot status, tilling the soil to feed their new masters. This victory doubled Sparta's territory, providing the agricultural surplus that sustained their warrior elite and freed them from economic distractions. Yet, triumph brought new perils. The Helots' simmering resentment erupted in the Second Messenian War, a revolt inspired by the poet Tyrtaeus, whose verses rallied Spartan troops with calls to valor and unity. Once again, Sparta crushed the uprising, but the experience forged an even more militarized state, with reforms attributed to Lycurgus solidifying the agoge and communal life as bulwarks against internal strife. With Messenia secured, Sparta turned outward, weaving a web of alliances that would define its hegemony. The Peloponnesian League, formed in the 6th century before the Common Era, was a masterstroke of diplomacy and intimidation. Unlike the Athenian-led Delian League, which often resembled an empire, Sparta's alliance was a confederation of city-states bound by mutual defense pacts, with Sparta as the undisputed leader. Corinth, Tegea, and Elis joined, drawn by protection against common foes like Argos, Sparta's perennial rival in the region. These bonds were tested in conflicts, such as the wars against Argos, where Spartan forces demonstrated their prowess, employing cunning tactics to lure and annihilate enemy armies. Under kings like Cleomenes I, Sparta intervened in broader Greek affairs, meddling in Athenian politics by supporting tyrants and oligarchs against democratic upstarts, all while maintaining a reputation for piety and conservatism. Their oracle at Delphi often guided decisions, blending divine sanction with strategic acumen. By the early 5th century before the Common Era, Sparta stood as the preeminent land power in Greece, its army unmatched in discipline and cohesion. This zenith of influence set the stage for the ultimate test, the Persian invasions, where Spartan resolve would be immortalized in the narrow pass of Thermopylae. But what if a handful of men could defy an empire? As the Persian storm gathered on the horizon in the summer of 480 before the Common Era, Greece stood on the precipice of annihilation, its city-states fractured, yet united by a fragile alliance against the mightiest empire the world had ever seen. King Xerxes I, son of Darius, had amassed an army of staggering proportions. Historians debate the numbers, but ancient accounts whisper of hundreds of thousands, drawn from across Asia and Africa, their ranks swelling with infantry, cavalry, and a fleet that darkened the Aegean Sea. This invasion was no mere raid. It was vengeance for the Greek victory at Marathon a decade earlier, a colossal force intent on subjugating Hellas and erasing its independence. At the forefront of the Greek defense stood Sparta, her warriors embodying the unyielding phalanx that had propelled her to power, now called upon to lead the resistance. The oracle at Delphi had foretold doom, unless a king fell, a prophecy that hung like a shroud over the deliberations. Yet, in this hour of peril, King Leonidas I, a descendant of Heracles himself, stepped forward with a resolve as steadfast as the mountains. He selected 300 of Sparta's finest hoplites, men of proven valor, each with living sons to carry on their line, accompanied by allies from Thespiae and Thebes, swelling their numbers to around 7,000. Their mission, to hold the narrow pass of Thermopylae, the hot gates, where the sheer cliffs and steaming sulfur springs funneled invaders into a choke point no wider than a cart's breadth in places. This strategic defile, flanked by the Maliac Gulf and impassable heights, was the gateway to central Greece, a natural fortress where quality could defy quantity. As the Greeks fortified the pass with a rebuilt wall, Leonidas positioned his forces in rotations, allowing fresh troops to meet the Persian onslaught while others rested, a tactic born of Spartan discipline. The battle unfolded over 3 fateful days, a symphony of bronze and blood that has captivated imaginations for millennia. On the first day, as Xerxes' heralds demanded the Greeks lay down their arms and submit, Leonidas replied with laconic defiance, "Come and take them!" The Persian king, expecting swift capitulation, unleashed his Medes and Scythians, waves of lightly armored troops crashing against the unbreachable Spartan shield wall. The hoplites, clad in bronze helmets crested with horsehair, cuirasses gleaming under the sun, and greaves protecting their legs, formed an impenetrable phalanx, spears protruding like a porcupine's quills, massive round shields interlocked in a barrier of aspis wood and metal. Persian arrows, fired in volleys that darkened the sky, proved futile against this formation. As one Spartan quipped, they merely provided shade. The Greeks rotated seamlessly, their othismos the pushing match of massed infantry forcing the invaders back, littering the ground with fallen foes. By dusk, thousands of Persians lay slain, while Greek losses remained minimal, a testament to superior training and terrain. The second day mirrored the first, with Xerxes committing his elite immortals, 10,000 strong, clad in scale armor and wielding wicker shields. These vaunted warriors, so named for their ranks that were instantly replenished, charged with bows and short spears, only to falter against the longer Greek dory spears and unbreakable resolve. Leonidas's men feigned retreats to draw the enemy in, then wheeled about in devastating counterattacks, turning the pass into a slaughterhouse. The air filled with the clamor of clashing metal, the cries of the wounded, and the acrid scent of sweat and sulfur from the hot springs nearby. Yet, betrayal loomed in the shadows. A local Greek named Ephialtes, tempted by Persian gold, revealed a hidden mountain path, the Anopeia Trail, that bypassed the defenses. As night fell, Xerxes dispatched his immortals along this route under high darns, outflanking the Greeks by dawn of the third day. Warned by scouts, Leonidas dismissed most of his allies to preserve their strength for future battles, retaining his 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians under Demophilus, and 400 Thebans. This rear guard, knowing death awaited, prepared for a final stand. In a blaze of glory, they advanced beyond the wall into the wider plain, seeking to inflict maximum carnage before the end. Leonidas fell early, his body contested in fierce melees, with Spartans fighting tooth and nail to recover their king. Surrounded on all sides, the Greeks formed a last circle, spears broken, resorting to swords, then daggers, and finally hands and teeth as the Persian arrows rained down. By midday, the pass was silent, the heroes slain, but at a cost to Xerxes of perhaps 20,000 men, a Pyrrhic toll that sowed seeds of doubt in his ranks. The Battle of Thermopylae was no victory for Greece in isolation, yet it delayed the Persians, allowing the Allied fleet to prepare at Artemisium and later Salamis, where naval triumph turned the tide. Archaeological excavations at Thermopylae have uncovered remnants of ancient fortifications, weapons like arrowheads and spear points, and potential burial sites, providing tangible echoes of this legendary clash and confirming the strategic importance of the terrain despite centuries of geological shifts. Ancient accounts from Herodotus paint a vivid portrait of sacrifice that transcends time. If this tale of defiance has gripped you, pause here, hit that like button, and subscribe to Epic History Chronicles for more immersive histories that bring the past to life. From this crucible of heroism emerged the Spartan ethos in its purest form, a legacy of tactics and spirit that would influence warriors for generations. In the wake of Thermopylae's heroic stand, where Spartan valor turned a narrow pass into an eternal monument of defiance, we turn our gaze to the very essence that made such feats possible. The military tactics and ethos that define these warriors as paragons of ancient warfare. What secrets lay behind their unbreakable formations? Imagine the Spartan hoplite, not as an isolated fighter driven by personal glory, but as a cog in a meticulously oiled machine, where individual prowess served the unbreakable whole. At the core of their tactics lay the phalanx, a formation that revolutionized Greek combat and became the backbone of Spartan dominance. This was no chaotic melee of swinging blades. It was a disciplined wall of men, 8 ranks deep or more, advancing in lockstep with shields overlapping to form an impenetrable barrier. Each warrior wielded the dory, a spear measuring 7 to 9 feet long, tipped with a bronze point for thrusting over the shield rim. while the left arm bore the massive aspis shield, 3 feet in diameter, crafted from wood faced with bronze and weighing up to 15 pounds. The shield was not merely defensive. It protected the man to the left as much as oneself, embodying the communal ethos that bound them. Your comrade's life depended on your steadfastness. In battle, the phalanx moved as one, the front ranks pushing forward in the othosmos, a grinding contest of strength and will, where the rear lines added weight to crush the enemy line. Flanking maneuvers were rare in such formations, but Spartans excelled in feigned retreats, luring foes into disarray before counterattacking with devastating precision, as seen against the Persians. Their arsenal extended beyond the spear, the xiphos, a short iron sword for close-quarters carnage when spears shattered, and the kopis, a curved blade for slashing in the press of bodies. Helmets of Corinthian design, fully enclosing the face with only slits for eyes and mouth, lent an aura of anonymity, reinforcing that the warrior was but a vessel for the state's might. Training in the agoge honed these tools into instincts. From boyhood, Spartans practiced in full armor under the blistering sun, enduring marches of 20 miles or more, wrestling and pancration, a brutal mix of boxing and grappling, to build endurance that outlasted any adversary. Yet, it was the ethos, that intangible fire within, that elevated tactics to legend. "Come back with your shield or on it," mothers whispered to sons, a mandate that retreat was dishonor, for dropping the shield meant flight, while returning upon it signified death in battle, body borne home by comrades. This philosophy prized laconic brevity, as when a Spartan, asked why their laws were few, replied, "Because we have few faults." Fear was not absent but mastered. Plutarch recounts how Spartans marched to war with pipes playing, steps measured to instill calm amid chaos. Loyalty to the polis superseded all family, wealth, even life, fostering a unity that made their army a family forged in iron. Unlike the Athenians, who valued innovation and naval power, or the Persians with their vast but disparate hordes, Spartans emphasized simplicity, repetition, and unyielding resolve, turning potential weaknesses like numerical inferiority into strengths through superior cohesion. This blend of tactics and spirit not only secured victories but inspired awe, yet as with all empires, cracks began to form, leading us to ponder, how could such a mighty power fall? Even as the echoes of Spartan triumphs reverberated through the annals of history, from the defiant stand at Thermopylae to the tactical brilliance that defined their ethos, the seeds of decline were quietly taking root, nurtured by the very strengths that had once elevated them to unparalleled heights. Picture the once unassailable city-state in the aftermath of the Persian Wars. Her warriors hailed as saviors of Greece, yet the victory at Plataea marked not an eternal pinnacle, but the beginning of a slow, inexorable descent. Sparta's involvement in the Peloponnesian War, a protracted conflict against the naval powerhouse of Athens, exposed the fragilities beneath their armored facade. Though Sparta emerged victorious, aided by Persian gold and the strategic genius of commanders like Lysander, the war drained their resources, decimated their citizenry, and sowed discord within the Peloponnesian League. Alliances frayed as former allies chafed under Spartan hegemony, their heavy-handed interventions breeding resentment rather than loyalty. Internally, the most insidious threat was demographic decay. The number of full Spartiates, those elite citizens eligible for the hoplite ranks, plummeted dramatically. This decline stemmed from relentless warfare's toll, low birth rates enforced by the agoge's demands that delayed marriage and family, and catastrophic events like the earthquake that sparked a massive helot revolt. The helots, ever a simmering underclass, seized opportunities to rebel, their uprisings requiring constant suppression that further strained Spartan manpower. Economic rigidity compounded these woes. Lycurgus's laws, designed to foster equality, instead stifled innovation and trade, leaving Sparta reliant on helot labor and vulnerable to disruptions. The turning point came at the Battle of Leuctra, where Theban forces under Epaminondas shattered the myth of Spartan invincibility. employing innovative tactics like the oblique order, a deepened left flank that crushed the Spartan right. The Thebans inflicted devastating losses, including the death of a Spartan king. This defeat not only humbled Sparta, but liberated Messenia after centuries of subjugation, stripping away the agricultural heartland that sustained their military lifestyle. In the ensuing decades, Sparta's influence waned. Attempts at reform faltered against conservative resistance, and external powers rose to eclipse them. By the time of Philip II of Macedonia, Sparta was a shadow of its former self, her walls finally built in desperation but too late to stem the tide. Roman intervention sealed their fate, transforming the once proud polis into a tourist curiosity, where mock agoge displays entertained visitors. Yet, in this fall, there lies a poignant lesson on the impermanence of power, how rigidity can fracture under change's relentless pressure. From the ashes of this decline, however, the Spartan ethos endured, transcending time to inspire modern heroes in ways that bridge ancient battlefields to contemporary arenas of valor and discipline. Though the physical might of Sparta crumbled into the dust of forgotten battlefields, leaving behind only ruins and echoes in the Peloponnesian winds, the indomitable ethos of her warriors refused to fade, weaving itself into the fabric of human endeavor across millennia and inspiring heroes in realms far removed from ancient Greece. As of 2025, the fascination with Sparta's unique way of life continues to influence popular culture and inspire those who value strength and endurance. Sparta's emphasis on discipline, resilience, and phalanx formation has influenced modern military tactics, with the phalanx's focus on unity inspiring contemporary strategies in close-quarters combat and team cohesion. In the United States Marine Corps, for instance, recruits endure boot camp ordeals that mirror Spartan trials, endless marches under heavy loads, communal living that forges bonds of brotherhood, and a creed that emphasizes honor, courage, commitment, echoing the laconic mandate to return with shield or upon it. Navy SEALs, those shadowy operators who navigate the world's most perilous missions, embody this legacy through Hell Week, a grueling test of endurance where sleep deprivation, physical exhaustion, and mental fortitude weed out the weak, much like the young Spartans stealing food in the dead of night to prove their cunning and resilience. These modern warriors often invoke Thermopylae as a metaphor for holding the line against overwhelming odds, a principle embedded in doctrines like the United States Army's Ranger Creed, which demands, "Never shall I fail my comrades," a direct descendant of the phalanx's interdependent shield wall. Beyond the barracks, the Spartan spirit permeates popular culture, transforming historical grit into motivational narratives that captivate global audiences. Frank Miller's graphic novel, 300, adapted into Zack Snyder's visceral film in 2007, reimagines Leonidas and his warriors as stylized icons of heroism, their chiseled forms and defiant cries like, "This is Sparta," igniting a cultural phenomenon that grossed hundreds of millions and spawned memes, merchandise, and even fitness regimes dubbed Spartan races. These obstacle courses, now a worldwide event series, challenge participants with mud crawls, wall climbs, and spear throws, channeling the agoge's essence into recreational pursuits that blend ancient valor with contemporary self-improvement. In cinema and literature, figures like the stoic protagonists in films such as Gladiator or the disciplined teams in Black Hawk Down draw from Spartan archetypes, portraying leadership through quiet strength and collective sacrifice. Even in video games like Halo, where Master Chief's Spartan super soldiers defend humanity against alien hordes, the name itself evokes that timeless resilience. This influence extends to philosophy and leadership training, where business executives study Spartan strategies for team building, and motivational speakers cite Leonidas's stand as a blueprint for facing adversity. In a world of rapid change and uncertainty, the Spartan ethos offers a serene anchor, a reminder that true power lies not in numbers or technology, but in the cultivated will to endure. How does this ancient spirit echo in your own life today? As we reflect on these modern echoes, we see how the warriors of old continue to shape our heroes, bridging the chasm of time with threads of unyielding spirit. As we draw the curtains on this epic chronicle of the Spartan warriors, let us pause to reflect on the profound legacies they have etched into the stone of human history. Legacies that transcend the crumbling ruins of their city-state and continue to illuminate our path in the modern world. From the austere valleys of Laconia rose a people who redefined the essence of heroism, not through fleeting acts of individual bravado, but through a collective ethos of discipline, sacrifice, and unyielding resolve that turned mortal men into timeless symbols of endurance. Their society, forged in the fires of necessity and tempered by the agoge's relentless trials, taught us that true strength lies in unity, where the shield of one protects the many, and personal desires yield to the greater good of the community. The rise of Spartan power, marked by conquests and the forging of the Peloponnesian League, showcased strategic acumen and diplomatic prowess, reminding us that dominance is as much a product of alliances as it is of arms. Yet, it was in the crucible of Thermopylae that their spirit burned brightest, where King Leonidas and his 300 held the pass against Xerxes' hordes, a stand that delayed an empire and inspired a nation, proving that valor in the face of impossibility can alter the course of destiny. Their military tactics, the impenetrable phalanx, the feigned retreats, the laconic wit elevated warfare to an art form, while their ethos of "with your shield or on it" instilled a philosophy of honor that echoes in every act of selfless courage. Even in decline, as demographic woes, Helot revolts, and defeats unraveled their hegemony, the Spartans offer a cautionary tale on the fragility of power, how rigidity can fracture under the weight of change, and how empires, no matter how formidable, are bound by the threads of time. Today, this indomitable spirit lives on, inspiring modern military elites who endure trials reminiscent of the agoge, and permeating culture through epics like the film 300, where their defiance motivates us to confront our own battles with steadfast hearts. In contemplating these warriors, we find not just stories of the past, but mirrors to our own potential for greatness, invitations to cultivate discipline in our daily lives, and serenity in the knowledge that true legacies endure beyond the grave. If this journey through the epic histories of the Spartans has stirred your soul, ignited your curiosity, or offered a moment of reflective peace, then subscribe to Epic History Chronicles for more immersive tales of ancient civilizations, legendary empires, and mythical narratives that bridge the ancient and the modern. Like this video if the Spartan ethos resonates with you, share it with fellow history enthusiasts, and join the conversation in the comments below. Tell us, what aspect of Spartan life inspires you most? Together, let us continue exploring the timeless world that shaped humanity, one epic chapter at a time. Thank you for joining this chronicle. Until next time, may the spirit of Sparta guide your own quests with courage and calm.